Earlier this year, I published my first work of fiction. It's called Albie, and it's such a fun story. I call it the Charlotte's Web for adult women. It's definitely a magical tale, but the themes are very relevant. Self-worth, healing trauma. Our main character loses her father when she's 7. And I'm going to read you just the first chapter, a few bits from the first chapter. And I think you'll kind of get the gist of this story. One of the greatest yet simplest pleasures on earth is to wake up to the smell of bacon sizzling, but not for Greer today. On this day, her head was throbbing and her stomach was churning. Too much wine, she thought, staggering her way to the living room. Good morning. Lovely to see you up and about. Oh dear, you may want to put some knickers on. Greer looked down and realized she was only wearing an oversized Rolling Stones t-shirt that once belonged to her father and holey green slipper socks. Oh, sorry, she said, staring at the big toe that it had wriggled its way free. No worries, darling. I took the liberty of putting a glass of water and one of your vitamins by your bedside. Go and get cleaned up, and then we'll sit down to a fine English breakfast. Greer put speed on that stagger back to her room and tried to place the face staring back at her in the kitchen. Who was the guy wearing periwinkle blue footy pajamas and sounding just like Hugh Grant in Notting Hill? Did she meet him at the pub up the street? Tribeca had several of them, and more than once she had gotten sloshed on box wine, only to find herself skipping off to the pub with her newfound liquid courage. She had only brought a man home one other time, and that ended up being a grievous mistake, as she found out the next morning the guy was married with several children. Luckily, he had passed out like a tranquilized ape during second base, and that was the end of that, though Greer still felt guilty for not asking if he was single. Ah, much better. Now, please sit. Breakfast is served. I'm sorry, but I don't remember meeting you last night. I'm embarrassed to say I had too much to drink. What time did we make it back here? Greer asked, careful to avoid making eye contact. That's because you didn't meet me last night, Gigi. You didn't leave your flat at all. Gigi? How did you know that used to be my nickname? Look at me. Don't I look familiar? The truth was, he did look familiar. He felt familiar too, though she couldn't place him. You do, but I don't remember how we met. Gigi, it's me. Who's me? Albie. Huh? Greer rubbed her eyes, convinced she was dreaming. Pardon me, where are my manners? Albie said, sticking his hand out. It's a pleasure to finally meet you in the flesh, Gigi Livingston. Greer stared at him with a look that would have made a deer in headlights resemble a wise old owl. It's Albie, you know, your faithful stuffed companion for the last 28 years. Trust me, I'm just as shocked as you. Greer pinched her arm. When that didn't work, she slapped her face, yelling, Wake up, wake up! And when that didn't work, she realized she could either be in a deep psychosis or in grave danger. Oh no! My shrink told me not to drink on my meds. Now I'm going completely mental. Either that or you're a serial killer. Oh God, you're going to murder me over toast and jam. Greer bolted from the table and locked herself in her room. She searched for her cell phone, but it was still in her purse, which was in the kitchen. She looked around the room and noticed Albie, her stuffed bunny, was nowhere to be found. He wasn't hiding in the covers and was not under the bed. Darling, please come out so we can talk about this. I promise I'm no threat to you whatsoever. My goodness, I'd never hurt a fly, Gigi. Please believe me. Greer leaned against the door. There was something calming about the man's gentle voice. He seemed cheery with that British accent, and he did know her nickname. Against her better judgment, she asked him a question. Okay, Albie, if it's you, what was my favorite book as a little girl? That's easy. It was Pippi in the South Seas, which is why you studied French and are obsessed with Bora Bora. Remember when you and Zara used coat hangers to make your braids stand out like Pippi's? Lucky guess, Greer thought for a moment. Which ankle did I break, and how did I do it? It was your right ankle, and you did it in Miss Cornelia's ice skating class in the third grade. You were attempting a forward swizzle, and it didn't go quite as planned. You haven't ice skated since. What color was my cast? Greer's heart raced. As a matter of fact, you had a pink cast, and you wanted us to match, so you wrapped my right leg in pink masking tape, and you signed it. Get well soon, love Gigi. This can't be happening, Greer thought. Slowly, she opened the door and stood face to face with Albie. I promise you, this is just as shocking for me as it is for you. Let's sit down, have some eggy bread, and I'll fill you in. Albie took Greer's hand and led her to the table, pulled out her chair for her, and then sat down across from her. Where did you get all this food? She marveled at the spread. I went down to the market early this morning. You were still sleeping. Well, sawing logs is more like it, he said with a wink. Greer blushed, helping herself to 2 slices of eggy bread, which just so happened to be her favorite. Albie poured her a steeping cup of Earl Grey that she drank with honey and a splash of coconut milk. I'm still not convinced I haven't lost my marbles, but please tell me how all of this happened. To be honest, I don't have all the details myself. What I do know is that someone said a prayer for you yesterday, and the big guy upstairs decided to answer it. Someone said a prayer for me? Greer was moved, and her eyes welled up with tears. Don't seem so surprised. I know you keep to yourself, but there are people out there who care about you. Albie grabbed her hand across the table. You haven't been doing well for quite some time. Ever since my father died? Indeed, dear girl. Greer knew it was true. Losing her father on her 7th birthday left a gaping hole in her heart. No matter what she tried, nothing filled that space. Not for long, anyway. Albie was right. The older she got, the more she pulled away from everyone. She did all the right things. She had a therapist, a psychiatrist, even an emotional support cat named Gershwin, but nothing seemed to take away the heaviness. She was just going through the motions and not very well at all. I'm here to bring you back to life. I know the irony of it all. Here I am, the inanimate object, brought to life to bring the barely breathing corpse back from the brink. Tolstoy couldn't write this. Albie grinned, refilling his tea. And then, with you losing your job yesterday, well, it was time for an intervention. Greer was still stuck on the fact that someone cared enough to send a prayer to the heavens for her. She couldn't remember the last time she prayed. The whole concept of a god up in the sky seemed trite. Not to mention, what kind of god takes papas away from little girls? Not one she really wanted to get to know. Oh, yeah, my job, Greer mumbled, lowering her head. I have no idea what I'm going to do now. You're going to take a small break, my dear. Luckily, you have a nice trust fund that you've barely touched, and you're not going to look for a new job just yet. You're going to let me lead the way for a bit. Greer didn't know what that meant, but it sounded enticing. She had largely been on her own since her father passed, and the thought of someone taking the reins seemed divine. And Albie was right. She didn't need to worry about money. She only dug into her trust fund one time, and that was to help her half-brother Andreas with some legal fees. She was her father's sole heir, and no one except Albie and her mother knew she was worth $20 million. So, guys, that was chapter 1. If that was intriguing, click the link below, available on Amazon or my website. And by the way, I just want to let you know, I wrote this book with young women in mind as well as old women. So there's no sex, drugs, rock and roll. This is a precious story about love and loss and rebuilding after tremendous loss and what it looks like when God smiles on you and creates a miracle in your life. The ending, you will never see it coming. There's a real fun twist at the end. There's a murder mystery weaved in. And because I'm a foodie, there's lots of fun references to restaurants and different kind of exotic foods and all of that. And Albie is a pretty cheeky character. I didn't do a British accent. I can't, but he is from Portobello Road, so he has a really fun British accent. And yeah, I think you would really enjoy this book. So if you loved Charlotte's Web as a girl, you will love this. You will love this story. And our main character, she goes through so much healing and growth on her journey. And I think you'll be really excited to see what happens. So check out Albie.